Going on, everybody? A little bit late, and I do apologize about that, but we're back for round two of the fall camp updates. Had a home Dynasty League draft today, took a little bit longer than I expected, but I've got a full load of camp notes for you here. Went through practically every conference, gathered up as much as I could. Wasn't able to get through all the SEC, so I will do a episode on Sunday as well, detailing the SEC and probably the AAC and maybe some of the independents. But let's take a look around the country at some fall camp news. All right, we're going to start in the ACC with Miami. The quarterback group got a chance to practice in the rain on Friday as it was raining, and Jake Garcia actually apparently looked the best, controlling the ball and with his accuracy in the rain. It was definitely a tough showing for some of them, but apparently he stood out, as did Ja'Cory Brown, showing at least a little bit more consistency in that backup job, but it really looks like Jake Garcia stood out in a major way. At the running back position, we know it is a loaded room. Jalen Knighton, Henry Parrish, Don Chaney Jr., Thad Franklin, and of course, our favorite here at C2C, Trevante Citizen. Apparently, it's still a very close battle between all of these guys, but they did point out that Trevante Citizen and Thad Franklin looked really good, specifically in the receiving drills that they did. So really excited to see what that means for them. You know, we're very high on Trevante Citizen. Tyler Van Dyke has pumped up as Citizen, but he does definitely have a good group ahead of him in Knighton, Parrish, and Don Chaney. So I don't necessarily know that gets him on the field that quickly. And Brishard Smith has continued to gather some rave reviews here in fall camp. Was a guy that a lot of people were talking up during spring, but definitely struggled with catches throughout the spring practice. It looks like he's cleaned that up a little bit, at least early on here in fall camp. Jumping over to Virginia Tech, Keyshawn King is a player that they are widely pumping up and talking about. They are moving him all over the offense, and they're using him as more of an offensive weapon compared to a running back. There were times in the drills that were seen that not only was he lined up at running back, but they moved him over to the slot wide receiver and even to the outside. They seemed to isolate him in all kinds of positions, and it really seemed like he was comfortable there as well. We know he has home run speed, as he scored on, I believe it was a 60-yard plus touchdown last year. So Keyshawn King, a player that I guarantee you nobody's drafting in C2C leagues right now, is a guy you may want to take a late round pick on, 45th round pick. I don't know that Virginia Tech offense is going to be super sexy or a lot of fun this year, but Keyshawn King being moved all over the place and what they want to do with him does sound, at least right now, somewhat intriguing. As for the quarterback battle, it doesn't really seem like there is one anymore. Grant Wells continued to get practically all the reps with the ones, according to all the reports that I read. Looks like he's pretty locked in there. Jumping over to the Big 12, Oklahoma State. We know Spencer Sanders is going to be the starter. There's really no competition there, but there is apparently a very good competition going on for the QB2 between Gunnar Gundy and our favorite Garrett Rangel. It has apparently been very close. In fact, they've both been switching reps consistently, allowing both of them to get runs with the twos. This has been said that this will continue through August, so we don't know who it is yet, but a lot of the reports come out is that Rangel actually looks a lot better than Gunnar. He's the guy I'm stashing. Now, we told you to stash him a long time ago. He was in our freshman guide, but regardless, if you haven't, he's a guy that I'm stashing because those Oklahoma State guys can put up decent numbers, and it really looks like he's impressing this year. Over to the running back position, Dominic Richardson is apparently getting the camp hype of in the best physical shape of his life, but they do say that he looks incredible right now. Best physical role that he's been in his career is what they're saying. We know he's pretty much locked into the starting role. What is interesting to me is Ollie Gordon, a freshman that we've talked a little bit about here, is apparently continuing to impress in camp, and reports are that he looks absolutely massive. With how good he's been in the receiving game, you might confuse him as a jumbo wide receiver or a tight end. So take that for what it's worth on Ollie Gordon. Over to TCU, this one is very interesting to me. Chandler Morris took almost all of the first team snaps on Friday. He did a very good job of apparently guiding the offense, getting him up and down the field, and showed really good command of the offense. In fact, even after media and everybody was pulled away from practice, The reports are that Max Duggan did not come back in, and it was Morris who continued to get all of the reps with the first team. Max stayed with the second team. Now, I am not telling you that Sonny Dykes is already making his decision here on August 6th that Chandler Morris is going to be his quarterback, but I do think it's leaning that way. We've seen Max Duggan. We know what Max Duggan is. He is a decent college player, but I don't think he brings the upside Chandler Morris does. I do think that they're starting to move down the line of Chandler Morris is going to be our starting quarterback. I will mention him again. I know I mentioned him on the first episode, but Corey Wren is apparently really impressing in the TCU camp. They've got him working with the twos right now at the running back position. Again, there's another guy. Offensive weapon is what they've described him as. They're moving him all over the offense. He's a guy, again, I'd continue to watch him. He's not even in our ADP, so maybe you don't have to draft him, put him on your watch list, but he's a guy you should definitely be watching. Over to Texas. I don't know what to take out of this, guys. I really don't. You guys know I'm a big fan of Quinn Ewers. Hudson Card continues to get the first team reps, or at least was out there first. However, during routes on air, by the way, and we're going to talk about this for a little bit for multiple QBs, on air, no defense whatsoever. He overthrew Xavier Worthy, Isaiah Nayor, and Savion Red. Now, Quinn Ewers did make one overthrow of Isaiah Nayor as well. But it's the second day in a row that Cord had Kyle. Look at that, Kyle McCord, guys. That's how much you guys know I like him, right? Hudson Card was the first quarterback out there and was running through the group with the one. So take that for what it's worth. But it continues to be, at least what it sounds like, is Ewers is making the more impressive throws, and Card is continuing to be inconsistent. But for whatever reason, he's still the one out there. Savion Red, a freshman, is really starting to make some noticeable plays in the first day of practice. Made some pretty good catches on air. Again, no defense was out there. There was an incomplete pass over the middle where he looked like he was apparently very upset that he didn't come up with a catch, even though it was considered a tough catch. But Red starting to make some noise. Interesting because he's a guy that none of us have really talked about. No big wide receiver guy at Big Wide Receiver on Twitter was a big fan of his coming out. He is apparently impressing as well, as so is redshirt freshman Jonathan Brooks, who is apparently just blowing away the competition with how good he's looked catching the ball. They even put him in pass blocking scenarios, and he actually was doing a lot better than they expected. Why I don't expect him to jump over Bijan, I do think there's a shot that he jumps Roschon Johnson or possibly Keelan Robinson. You know, we're all expecting Jadon Blue to come in and be the guy for them next year. It might be a pretty decent split between Jonathan Brooks and Jadon Blue, who, again, is continuing to impress. He was a guy I mentioned multiple times during the spring camp reports, already through fall, making a name for himself. Jumping over to the Pac-12, Arizona State has got a very interesting running back battle going on between Xavier Valade and Daniel Ngata. Both apparently have looked very good, and both should be able to step on the field immediately and play. However, Ngata has apparently, by reports, been the most impressive in the first 2 days of camp. Obviously very early, so just take that with a grain of salt. But they do seem to complement each other very well. While neither one of them seems to be a really physical runner up the gut, there's zero hesitation between both of them doing that, and Daniel Ngata continues to be impressive. I don't know that there's really going to be a true bell cow here. I would not be surprised if it's a 50-50 split, but take that for what it's worth. Daniel Ngata getting some run with the ones and looking more impressive. Going over to Arizona, and I've got to do it because Noah Fafita is continuing to impress. In fact, there was apparently a lot of red zone work done on Friday. During that time, Jaden Delora did take some reps, but then they pulled him out multiple times to have Noah Fafita come in and run the red zone drills. Again, Jaden Delora is going to start the year, and outside of him, bombing is going to be the starter all season long. But they are continuing to roll Noah Fafita out there. I'm not telling you guys he's going to be this great NFL upside guy, but I think with this offense and with Jeb Fish, they could have a pretty good offense. He's a guy I'm betting on, and they seem to really like him. A guy that I will be honest, I have not heard anybody talk about, and I don't even know if I'm going to get his name right, but Kenyon Burnett. He is a tight end here for Arizona, who the quarterbacks forcing the ball to Burnett because of how good they think he could be in this offense. They have actually lined him up in line and out wide, and again, have been calling specific plays just to get Burnett involved. We know tight end is kind of throw it up in the air, throw a dart at the board and hope that it hits. The fact that they're really trying to involve him in the offense, though, I do think speaks highly. Again, a guy not getting drafted, list him, draft him as your 45th pick, whichever you do here with Burnett. I think he's a guy you can get late. And again, with the offense and what I expect this Arizona offense to be, he's a guy I'm willing to take a bet on at this point. Last but not least, Tatora McMillan has struggled a little bit the past few days, and Jacob Cowan continues to be the most consistent wide receiver on the roster, who's reiterated multiple times here. So I think Jacob Cowan, which we expect to have a really big year, is continuing to look good. Remember how I mentioned quarterbacks throwing on air against nobody on the defense? Well, going up to Washington, they had their first game of practice here. Penix continues to take the first team reps. Heward was in and out with the twos, mixed in with Dylan Morris, and did get some run with the ones. However, reports are that Penix looked the least accurate of the three quarterbacks in all of the offensive drills against air, including up to at least, that was counted, 4 overthrows of wide receivers, again, against air. No defense out there. It's not like he was trying to avoid a safety or cornerback coming over the middle. He just missed on air. It's not great. That all being said, Michael Penix is still going to be the starter. We'll see what happens with him. He is yet to, unfortunately, have a full, healthy season, has not played more than 6 games, but he knows the DeBoer offense. He's got a rocket for an arm. He's going to be the starter, but that's not great that he can't get the ball to his wide receivers on air. It's not like he was even hitting them in the hands either. All the reports where he was just flat out missing them. Not great. Tight end Devin Culp, though, continues to impress in camp, and he's a name that is being mentioned multiple times. Now, he is higher up in our ranks. People are taking him early, but definitely seems to be a guy that they really like here in fall camp. Jumping over to a couple SEC teams before we get out of here. At Florida, Lorenzo Lingard continues to impress at running back for the team. You know, we weren't sure if we were going to see him out there, if it was going to end up being Montrell Johnson. Lorenzo Lingard's getting all the hype, at least as of now. Some sort of not good hype. Trevor Etn, the brother of Travis Etienne, apparently had to run through a running back drill 3 times before just being asked by the coaches to move on. Not great, obviously, but he's a freshman. He should have time to put it together, but he's being drafted fairly highly by some people. Maybe we pull back the reins just a little bit on Trevor Etn. Last but not least, Ricky Pearsall suffered what looked like a slight ankle injury earlier in the week. He seems to be fine now and back at camp, and is just apparently been by far the best wide receiver for Florida. You know, excited to see that pairing between him and Anthony Richardson. You know, Anthony Richardson's got all the upside in the world, but what will he do with it? That is, you know, the real question here. I'm very intrigued to see what happens with Anthony Richardson and Ricky Pearsall. Last but not least, and I don't know why, but my connection is cutting out here. I see that I just lost video. We'll see if we can fix that here in a minute, but we can still talk about what's going on. Georgia, go figure that the new tight end university, all 3 tight ends have apparently looked incredible so far. And I mean, most of all apparently has been freshman Oscar Delp, who has just been absolutely on fire. Video back. Awesome. Oscar Delp has apparently looked incredible. Not surprising. Very highly ranked for all of us. Most of us have him within our top 4 at the site. He's going to likely be a stud. I don't know that he does much this year, obviously, with Brock Bowers there, and Eric Gilbert, who is a transcendent talent. Let's hope that there's no more issues. He's on the field, has a really good season, because we know Georgia's offense loves those tight ends going up the seam. Both those guys are going to be very hard to cover. You know, even though I am not the biggest Stetson Bennett NFL quarterback fan, he is more than good as a college quarterback. He showed that last year. Great story as well. And having a guy like Brock Bowers and Eric Gilbert there is just going to be ridiculous. On the wide receiver side of things, though, Ladd McConkey and Adonai Mitchell seem to be the ones out of camp, while freshman Denila Morissette, who is getting some love during spring, has been running mostly with the 3s with quarterback Brock Vandegrift, who I think we are finally kind of allowed to let go a little bit here, as he was being hyped up early on in the C2C days by certain hosts. That will do it for us today. I will continue to compile these notes and do these. The goal, guys, is to try and do these every day, at worst every other day. My kids are going back into school. So with everything else going on at the website, with us ramping up till college football season, it may be a little hard to get it done every day, but I will do my best to bring you guys at least a couple schools if I can. I will be back for a video tomorrow on Sunday. We'll go through the rest of the SECs. I was only able to go look at a couple of these ones and dig into some of the stories and the stuff coming out before my draft. And then I do want to dive into the AAC as well, and some of these G5 schools, as we know, that matters for us on the fantasy side of things. So everybody enjoy your Saturday nights. Stay safe. Have some fun. We'll talk to you guys again on Sunday with some more fall camp updates.